another question I get a lot is, Dr. Allo, my friend started doing XYZ and he lost like 30 pounds in 2 months. And then I see that person again a few months later and they've put all the weight back on and they've gained it back. So how does that work? Or like, what does it mean? So XYZ can be anything. I just use XYZ, but XYZ can be, they started walking or they started jogging. They stopped eating this. They started eating that. They began a restrictive diet where they eliminate one macronutrient, or they do time restricted eating like intermittent fasting, or they're doing something different. The thing is, when you do something different, you can create a calorie deficit. Like, for example, let's just use keto. If somebody starts eating in a keto style diet, assuming they don't have heart disease or anything, but if someone's eating in a keto style diet, you suddenly took out all carbohydrates, or like almost nothing of carbs, you've reduced your calories by about 65%. This is generally what happens. People are eating, let's say, 2,500 calories a day. They get rid of carbs. Now they're eating like 1,400 a day or something like that. You're going to lose weight really, really fast because you've eliminated 60% of your calories or more, 70 sometimes percent. That's a huge calorie deficit. You're going to lose weight very, very quickly. 2 to 3 months, you lose, let's say, 50 pounds, maybe 40, I don't know. But then your body's adaptive mechanisms kick in. Well, if we eat a little bit more butter and bacon and ribeye and cheese or whatever it is, your body starts compensating and you put that weight back on. Someone starts jogging. Like, you know what? I want to lose weight. I'm going to start walking every night after meals. They do that. You create a slight calorie deficit, and you don't realize, and your eating stays about the same initially, but then your body compensates and you eat more. It reduces your NEAT or your other parts of your total daily energy expenditure, and you end up gaining the weight back. So how do we mitigate this? It can be also called shiny object syndrome. When somebody jumps from one workout to another, they may see results initially. Let's say you are doing a workout style. Well, you worked out your legs once a week and now you're doing them 2 or 3 times a week in a slightly different way, or you're doing it still once a week but in a different way. You chose different exercises. That new stimulus or that new thing definitely can create results. We see this all the time with people, especially when it comes to changing eating habits. So the biggest way to mitigate this or prevent the weight from coming back on is being more precise. What I usually tell my patients that come in saying, "Doc, I started doing this diet and I lost a bunch of weight initially, but now I put it all back on." Usually, when that's the case, I have the patient start tracking calories. I say, "Okay, look, you tried to wing it and eat." We call that like intuitive eating. You kind of did it intuitively to begin with, but that's not going to work long term. We need to be more precise. So I'll have them download a tracking app, something like MyFitnessPal, and start just tracking their daily caloric intake. Let's say they're eating 2,000 calories a day and they're like 240 pounds, whatever. They start tracking, and every day for a week, their daily average intake is 2,000 calories and they're staying 240 pounds. So we say, okay, look, if you want to get lower than that, you have to eat less than 2,000 calories a day. That seems to be what's keeping you at this weight. We got to reduce it. Why don't we try 1750? Just something. They dropped to 1750, and I'm just throwing these numbers out there. It could be 3,000 and 2,750, whatever, or 2,600. But you reduce their calories, and now they're being super precise, and the weight comes off and starts staying off. The whole idea is you want to create a calorie deficit that you can maintain long term, and then they'll realize that, I don't have to not eat this thing or that thing or walk after dinner or whatever it is, that new thing they're doing. They realize that by being more precise and more scientific about it, that they can actually lose weight without even really trying, but it's a little more meticulous in the beginning because you got to track. Now, you don't have to track calories forever because eventually you'll figure it out. After a few weeks of tracking, you'll know about what 1,800 calories looks like. You know about what 2,500 calories looks like. You don't have to keep tracking. If you hit like a plateau and get stuck, track for a few days just to make sure you're still on track so that we know if we need to adjust your calories or not. But those are some really, really simple things that explain why. Oh, and there's been studies on this. There's studies that have shown anytime somebody adopts a new habit, especially like a activity style habit, whether it's swimming, jogging, biking, they adopt a new habit. The short-term studies have shown like for 3 months you'll lose some weight, But then once you look at them a year or more later, the weight is all back to where it was, and sometimes even more. So when it comes to activity style habits that you're starting, you will put the weight back on. That's why we always tell people, don't try to create a calorie deficit with activity. Do activity that you enjoy, that is fun, that empowers you, that makes you feel good. Pack on some muscle so your metabolism can increase a bit. But pick activities because you enjoy them, because they're good for your health, they're good for your diabetes, good for your heart failure, good for whatever it is. But that's not how you create a calorie deficit. You want to create your calorie deficit with your food alone, because that's something you can really control. If you one day can't walk anymore because your knees hurt or you broke a hip or whatever it might be, what are you going to do? How are you going to create a calorie deficit? You can't walk anymore. Are you just going to keep eating the same? No, you got to learn how to create a calorie deficit with your food so that when you can do it long term and stick to it forever. And that's all I got for you. Grab my book below. All this stuff is in there, and I think you'll enjoy it.